Hi everyone, my name's Laura and this is my channel So Very Laura. So as you can see, I'm still not in my sewing room, I am still on my cruise, and so today I thought was the perfect opportunity for me to participate in the hashtag for sewing vloggers that's currently doing the rounds on YouTube, and that is hashtag 20 sewing questions, which was originally dreamt at by the lovely Annette Sewing in Michigan, but I've just watched the vlog by the equally lovely Emke Sews, so I'll link both of their channels down below. And yeah, without further ado, I shall get into the questions. I hope I'm not going to rock the camera too much. You are balanced on my knee on two pillows in the hope that that will give me some kind of a decent recording angle. I've got the questions on my phone, so apologies if I keep looking down. So the first question is, how do you feel about using a new pattern? Well, to be honest, most patterns are new to me when I sew them because I am not really a pattern repeater. There are a couple of exceptions to that. So the Tilly and the Buttons Nora, I've made a lot both for me and for my mum, usually in fleece. And I've made quite a few pairs of the Tilly and the Buttons Juno pyjamas. Other than that, I don't repeat patterns that often, and certainly not kind of yeah, in absolute enormous multiples. So most patterns that I try are new to me, and I really like it. I really like sewing a variety of patterns. I've swapped recently from tracing out patterns, well I say recently, probably about 2 years ago, from tracing out patterns to getting PDF and then getting them printed by, well I use CLC patterns in the UK because they're really quick. And I think that stops me procrastinating so badly because of having to trace the pattern and stuff. There's always going to be some things I'm going to have to trace because I get Birder magazine, for example. But yes, I like a challenge, so I enjoy working with patterns that are new to me. So that's the first question. Second question, do you remake or mend? I'm much better at mending now than I was before I started sewing seriously. So yes, I've done quite a few repairs on things like husband's jeans, fixing buttons, fixing belt loops that have come off. I repaired a pair of a friend's shorts once because they got a hole in them, and I managed to fix that. In terms of remaking, I've only reworked one make from one thing that I made to something completely different, and that was that I made a pencil skirt in scuba very early on in my sewing journey, and it was a really quite heavy scuba and it had no stretch, so if I wore it I would pretty much have to jump rather than walk, and I refashioned that into a bomber jacket using a free pattern from Tiana's Closet. So I'll link to my vlog where I talk about that down below. Other than that, I did also use a pattern which I think is called the Shirt to Stockbridge top by Greyfriars and Grace, and I did film that as a sew along, and that's where you take a man's shirt and you follow the pattern to alter the shirt to turn it into a blouse. Actually mine looks like a kind of mini cut down shirt, so I'll link to that vlog below and I'll try and pop a pic in here of the finished item. So yes, I do where I can. I haven't done that much of it in terms of refashioning, but I'd like to try and do more in the future. So that's the answer to question 2. Question 3 is, do you make toiles or mock-ups? It depends on the garment that I'm sewing. So if it's something where I'm really not sure either that I'll like it, or if I'm not particularly sure whether the pattern's going to work for me, then yes, I will. So if you've been with me a little while, you might remember me talking about Sew April blouse, and I used a couple of free patterns, one of which is the Tiana's Closet lantern top, which I do really like, and I wanted to toile it as a wearable toile to make sure that I liked it before I used some Minerva exclusive fabric, which I bought with a voucher I got when I left work. So I toiled that, and I also toiled another free pattern by a lesser known designer, and it didn't work at all because the sizing was just completely wrong. So I'm really glad that I toiled that. I also made a wearable toile of a dress that I thought I might want to wear to a friend's son's wedding. And by the time I actually finished that, I changed my mind and bought a different dress pattern anyway. I bought the peony dress, and that's what I actually wore, the Fabric Godmother pattern. But I'm really glad I changed my mind, because when I'd done the toile, I actually didn't like the dress on me. So that was also good that I didn't go and make the dress in an expensive fabric right off. So yes, I will, but it's probably for me as much about making sure I like the pattern as it is about fit. Next question. How do you feel about pre-washing fabric? I pre-wash fabric all the time unless it's something that I don't think I would wash myself because of the nature of the fabric. So I think the only thing I haven't pre-washed is I made a cape out of some Melton wool, and I didn't wash that because I wasn't sure how that would go, and I would probably try and get it professionally cleaned. But other than that, I pre-wash absolutely everything, not because I'm particularly worried about where it's been, but more because I don't want the fabric to shrink after I've sewn with it, so I always pre-wash my fabric. Question 5. Do you finish your seams, and if so, how? Yes, I do finish my seams, and 9 times out of 10 I do that with my overlocker. Very, very occasionally, and maybe on a wearable toile, I might use pinking shears, but I'm really scared of cutting through the seam. And I'm making a pair of jeans for my husband at the moment where I am doing flat felled seams, but normally I would use my overlocker. Question 6. What is your favourite sewing activity? I enjoyed the sewing itself, so I would say sewing on my sewing machine as opposed to sewing on my overlocker. So yeah, the actual sewing up. I also, when I think it is going to fit and all work out okay, I quite enjoy doing the pinning and the prep as well. So when it goes horribly wrong and it doesn't look like it's going to fit, and then I hate it. So that's my favourite. What is my least favourite sewing activity? Up until recently, I would have said cutting out, but that's got a lot easier since I got a table that I can cut on, so I'm not crawling about on the floor anymore. And I think I've got slightly faster at it, so I mind that less than I used to. Don't particularly enjoy pressing, though I do think it's important. And that's generally been because I find it really irritating to have to keep bobbing up and down from my sewing machine to press. But I am lucky in that I'm able to actually press some things in my sewing room as long as it's not a really enormously long seam. I've got a little tiny ironing board, and I have recently started using a travel iron that I found in my mum's house, which actually is less temperamental than my little tiny iron, which is actually meant for sewing. And so I mind that less as well. But what I try to do is look through the pattern and do as much sewing as I possibly can of various bits. So I might sew, I don't know, I'll prep the cuffs or I'll prep sleeves and things, and then I'll go and do all the pressing as far as I can in one big hit, and then I'll come back and do another load of sewing. And I find that makes it less irritating than putting the ironing on, doing a tiny bit, turning it off again. So yeah, but that's probably my least favourite, but I accept it's necessary. Stash fabric or new fabric? Well, all stash fabric was new fabric once, I guess, or new to me. A bit of both. I think I tend to buy fabric with specific ideas in mind most of the time, and then when I want to make something and it isn't one of those things that I've earmarked the fabric for, I tend to think I haven't got the fabric in my stash and I need to get new fabric. But I am trying to work through my stash fabric slowly. So I'm thinking back over, I mean, I've been using things like, I picked up a quilt from a charity shop, a quilt cover, and I have been using that. So that made my lantern top blouse. It also made the toile that didn't work recently. I have sewn a t-shirt out of a jersey fabric with lollipops on, which I showed in my Why I Lost My Sojo vlog, and that had been in my stash for ages. But equally, the peony dress that I made for my friend's birthday party was pretty much new fabric. I'd only ordered it a couple of months before, so I'd say a combination, but my stash is getting a bit out of hand, so I need to concentrate on that really in the near future. So yeah, combination. Question number 9, are pockets a must? I think it depends on the garment. I like to have pockets in trousers, certainly front pockets. I think in knit fabrics it's less easy, and I think sometimes the pockets can pull on the fabric. So certainly on a knit dress I probably wouldn't put them in again. I did it once on a really early knit dress that I made, and although it's okay and it hasn't really distorted the dress, that's probably because I don't really put anything in the pockets. But I do, when I make a hoodie, quite like a kanga pocket on the front, so I would put that on. The outfit or the make where I most miss having pockets is I made the Sew Over It Sorrento jacket, and that doesn't have pockets in the side seams. It has them here, chest pockets, but it doesn't have them in the side seams, and I really miss having pockets in that. So if I made that again, I would put pockets in it, or I would be more likely to maybe try a different denim jacket and put pockets in it. So I think the answer is probably mostly less so in knits. Okay, next question. What are your favourite fasteners, or do you prefer no fasteners? I think I prefer zips to buttons. I quite like putting invisible zips in, which probably makes me weird. I don't mind doing buttonholes. I know a lot of people don't like them. I don't hate doing them. I just more find it a pain trying to choose buttons, so I probably prefer zips. And I don't mind having no fasteners either, but I wouldn't pick something that was deliberately very roomy in order not to have a fastener. But if something is roomy enough that I can get away without putting a fastening in, like for example the Tiana's Closet lantern top is meant to fasten with a button and loop at the back, and I didn't need it because it was big enough without, so I didn't bother. So yeah, if I can get away with it on the pattern as it fits me naturally, I won't put a fastening in, but I wouldn't size up or make loose patterns deliberately because of not liking putting fasteners in, because I'm lucky and my machine she says, touching wood, actually behaves fine on buttonholes and zips and stuff, so I'm quite happy to do it if the pattern needs it. So that's that one. Question 12. Do you prefer sewing for yourself or for others? I do sew mostly for myself. It's just the way it works out, really. I have sewn for others, probably most my husband. So you'll have seen in the last vlog, which I'll link to, that I made him a robe and myself one at the same time, and I've made him shorts. I've made him 2 pairs of shorts. I've made him pyjamas. I've made him a shirt. I did also make things for my mum, and I made my dad a shirt which he loved, and I've made pyjamas for my aunt as well, but none of those 3 are with us anymore. So increasingly I sew more for myself, but my husband really appreciates it when I sew things for him, so I'm happy to continue doing so. YouTube or Instagram? Both, although I really need to put some posts on Instagram. I haven't posted on Instagram except on the odd story since before I lost my sojo, so I need to get back into it. In terms of keeping up with what other people are up to, I do look at Instagram every day, but I tend to watch vlogs by sewists more than I necessarily look at their Instagram accounts. But I would say both, and I would also say that I pretty much don't use Instagram primarily for anything other than sewing. So yeah, both. Question 14, dresses or separates? I would say both. I like wearing dresses, particularly sweater dresses in the winter. So I'm quite looking forward to getting all my sweater dresses back out to wear with tights and boots. So I do enjoy a dress. Also quite like making shirts and making tops. Where I have got a real gap is me made skirts and me made trousers, so that is something I do need to rectify. So yeah, dresses and tops with a need for trousers. Otherwise I'd say in terms of what I enjoy wearing, I quite like wearing jeans, so I'm happy wearing either, and since I'm now retired there's less of a need for me to have smarter trousers and things anymore. But yes, I would say both. Question 15, how do you, quote, get rid of or pass on me makes? I haven't had to do that yet, so I don't really know. I would possibly send them to fabric upcycling. I think it would depend, because I don't think a lot of charity thrift shops take clothes if they haven't got a sizing label in. So that would be my concern about passing them on to a charity shop. But if another sewist wanted something that I'd made that I didn't want, then I would happily give it to them. So but it hasn't really happened yet. I've probably not made enough things that's really something that's come onto my radar as yet. Quick sew or involved sew? Again, both. Sometimes it's really nice to have a palette cleanser, and so yeah, sometimes it's quite nice just to make something quick, like a sweater dress or a sweatshirt, particularly if it's got ribbing around the neck and the cuffs and the waistband, because I find that nice and quick. But overall I'd say I get more satisfaction from an involved make. So if I just want to enjoy sewing and the technicalities of sewing, I'd say an involved make. But I think quick makes have their place, and I'm not very good at doing involved makes if I am with other people, because I get too distracted and start chatting. So I think quick makes definitely have their place, and also they have their place in my wardrobe. And you know, there are limits to how many lined capes I need in my life. That's probably one of the most involved makes I've done. It's one of the ones I'm proudest of, but I don't need that many, sadly. Otherwise I'd wear them all the time. Slight pause there, because the captain just came over the tannoy and said we were about to set sail, so I just paused my recording. Question 17, we're nearly there. Social or solitary sewing? Both. I am a member of the Southern Social, which is run by the lovely Sam, who is Sequin Girly Creates here on YouTube and also on Instagram, and Mary, who is the Revitalised Sewist on Instagram. So they are down in Buckinghamshire and I'm in Wales, so I don't get down for every meeting, and in fact it was their second birthday party today and I missed it, but happy birthday to the Southern Social. And yeah, I'm really sorry that I missed that. And the other group that I go to sometimes is in Lincolnshire, and that's the Scothen Social, because Scothen is the village that is next door to where my mum used to live, my mum and dad used to live. And I was introduced to the group by the lovely Mandy, Make It So. And, so I went to one when my mum was still alive, and I've carried on going there a little bit since, while we had my mum's house still. And although we don't have the house anymore, I am still going to go up there sometimes, because I can easily stay in Lincoln. And so, yes, I don't get there as often as I like, but it's still lovely. And do go and watch Emma, who now has her channel on here on YouTube. So I'll link her channel down below. She's new, but she's an absolute natural. So do go and give her a watch, and I'll pop her details down below. And so, yeah, hopefully I will get up there again before the end of the year. I haven't actually found one near me in South Wales yet, but now I've retired, who knows, I might set one up myself, so we'll see. But yes, the rest of the time I sew on my own, and that's fine too. But I do also sometimes attend Sam Sequin Girly Creates membership virtual meetups. Apologies if you can hear creaking in the background, because we've set sail now, so you might hear a bit of rumbling, and the screen might start shaking a bit, so apologies. This is the life of a vlogger on the open wave. So yeah, so yes, the rest of the time I sew on my own at home, but I don't mind that. It's quite nice to have a bit of me time. So yes, I do both. Do I have a dedicated sewing space? If you've been following me for any length of time, you will know that yes, I do. I'm very lucky. I have one of the bedrooms in our house, which is used solely by me for my sewing, and it is a reasonable size. It's double bedroom size, so I'm able to fit my sewing machines in there and storage space, and I'm in the process of trying to sort it out, because I have brought back from my mum and dad's house a unit that my dad built me when I was probably about 6, maybe a bit younger, and it kind of grew up with me. So it he amended it so it had a desk in it for me to do my homework on, and they still had it and I couldn't part with it, and I'm hoping to be able to use that for sewing storage, but it needs painting. So I will do a tour of my sewing room just as soon as I've got it all sorted out. Question 19, labels or not? I have got a huge collection of sewing labels. Obviously don't have them here, but you will have seen that I put them in the robes. Some of them I bought myself, some of them I've been lucky enough to be gifted. So I do try to put them in my garments. I don't always remember, but I do like to put them in, and I think sometimes you can use them in quite an appropriate way. So I've got one which I think is by Cozy Club, in my latest peony dress, which I made when my sojo was really low and I wasn't feeling that great, and it just says look for glimmers, and that is absolutely how I was feeling at the time. So yeah, I like them, and kind of they help me think back to what I was doing when I made that garment. So ideally, yes, labels, always labels, but I don't always remember. And question 20, percentage of me-made clothes versus ready to wear. It's not as high as I'd like. In terms of knitwear, it's actually not too bad, in terms of the fact that I do have some garments that I've knitted or crocheted for myself. I would say at the moment I'm probably somewhere, in total, probably somewhere around 30%, maybe 40%, maybe not even that. I haven't tried me-made underwear yet, or swimwear, or activewear. I've made one pair of jeans, which if you've followed me for a while, you will know that I hate and will only wear in the house, probably in the dark, because I really don't like them. So in terms of, I need more skirts, I need more trousers, I want to make more dungarees, but I would say in terms of tops and cozy tops, and particularly winter dresses, my percentage is probably higher. So it's probably higher in the winter than it is in the summer, and it's higher in terms of tops and dresses than it is in terms of clothing for my bottom half. So yeah, probably about 30%, but as I now have more time, I would hope that it would go up. But I'm not going to say that I'm never going to buy ready to wear if it's something that I like, or something that's going to take me ages to make, or that I don't have any interest in making. So yeah, that's it, and I am going to disappear off and go and find my husband, because he came back from the gym and I just went, no, I haven't finished filming, so the poor man's gone off to find a drink by the pool bar. So I'm going to go and find him, and then we are going to get ready for dinner. So apologies for the non-makeup look, but I'm going to get ready for dinner shortly, so I just came on as I am. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to hear more from me. And I will be back soon with another vlog, where I hope you're all finding some time to sew, and I wish you a really happy week. Bye for now.